He felt it. You know he did. You saw it in his eyes, in the way he held on just a little too long, in the way he always came back. And then, nothing. Cold, distant, toxic, like the connection never even existed. And you've been sitting with this question, haven't you? How does someone capable of that kind of depth cause this much damage? Here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. The divine masculine doesn't act toxic despite the connection. He acts toxic because of it. Because something in him recognized you, and it shook him in ways he has no language for. So he did the only thing wounded men know how to do. He destroyed it before it could destroy him first. But there's a layer beneath this that almost no one talks about. A pattern so buried. It's been running both of you without either of you realizing. And once you see it, you will never unsee it. Stay with me, because what comes next changes everything. The hardest truth to accept is that the most dangerous energy rarely arrives looking dangerous. It arrives looking irresistible. It feels magnetic. It feels destined. And that's exactly why so many divine feminines mistake toxicity for a spiritual sign. At the beginning, the divine masculine's intensity can feel almost supernatural. The silence feels mysterious. The hot and cold behavior feels like emotional depth. Even the emotional distance is often interpreted as part of a sacred awakening. Instead of questioning the pain, the soul starts assigning spiritual meaning to it. Suddenly, every breadcrumb feels like divine guidance. Every disappearance feels like the universe testing your faith. But here's where the illusion becomes dangerous. Real spiritual connection doesn't constantly leave your heart in survival mode. It doesn't force you to earn love through suffering. Toxic patterns often disguise themselves as transformation, because pain naturally changes people. The more you hurt, the more convinced you become that something extraordinary must be waiting on the other side. The divine masculine may not even realize this cycle is happening. His unresolved wounds create confusion, emotional walls, and unpredictable behavior that accidentally feels mystical instead of unhealthy. The connection becomes addictive because your heart keeps chasing the version of him that appeared in the beginning, hoping that person will return. Eventually, the soul faces a painful awakening. You begin to realize the universe was never asking you to tolerate chaos. It was asking you to recognize your own worth. The greatest spiritual lesson isn't surviving someone's toxicity. It's discovering the courage to stop calling emotional pain a divine blessing. One day, the messages slow down, the warmth disappears, and without a single goodbye, the silence begins speaking louder than words ever could. That's the moment the twin flame mirror starts cutting deeper than you ever imagined. When the divine masculine pulls away, it doesn't just create distance between two people, it exposes every hidden wound you've spent years trying to outrun, the fear of abandonment, the need for reassurance, the desperate hope that someone else's return will finally make you feel whole. His absence becomes a mirror, reflecting everything your soul has been carrying in the dark. At first, the instinct is to chase, to search for signs, to replay every conversation, every glance, every memory, hoping to find the reason he changed. But the harder you chase him, the clearer the mirror becomes. Because this journey was never only about finding him, it was about finding the parts of yourself that disappeared while waiting to be chosen. The silence feels brutal because it strips away every illusion. No distractions, no comforting words, just you, standing face to face with your own heart. And somewhere inside that painful reflection, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop seeking validation from someone who keeps walking away. You start rebuilding the love you kept giving to everyone except yourself. The divine masculine's distance may feel like rejection, but the mirror reveals something far greater. It isn't pushing you away from love, it's pulling you back toward the version of yourself that no longer needs to beg for it. And that's where the real transformation finally begins. Some stories don't break your heart. They convince you. The breaking is proof you're meant to stay. That's the trap so many twin flames fall into. One person runs, the other chases. Distance grows. The longing grows even louder. And somewhere in the middle of all that emotional chaos, pain starts wearing the mask of destiny. The runner believes they need more space. The chaser believes loving harder will finally bring them back. But every unanswered message, every sleepless night, Every cycle of hope followed by disappointment begins to feel like a sacred test instead of a warning. The truth is, love was never designed to keep you trapped in constant emotional survival mode. A genuine spiritual connection can challenge you. It can transform you, but it should never require you to abandon your peace just to keep believing. Many mistake obsession for devotion, attachment for unconditional love, emotional addiction for a divine bond. That's why the runner-chaser cycle becomes so powerful. It feeds the belief that the harder the journey hurts, the more special the connection must be. Yet sometimes, the greatest spiritual lesson isn't learning how to hold on. It's finding the courage to stop chasing someone who keeps running, and finally choosing the version of yourself that no longer needs pain to prove that love is real. Because the moment you stop confusing suffering with destiny, that's often the moment your true awakening finally begins. Some wounds don't bleed, they keep answering the phone. That's the trap. Some people don't break your heart with cruelty. They break it by convincing you their confusion is your spiritual assignment. Suddenly, every mixed signal becomes shadow work. Every disappearing act becomes divine timing. Every lie becomes another lesson. You're expected to survive. But healing was never meant to feel like endless excuses. Real shadow work asks you to face your own fears, not tolerate someone else's manipulation. Yet many people become trapped in a cycle of breadcrumbing, gaslighting, and emotional control because they're told that suffering is proof they're evolving. The more they're hurt, the more they believe they're getting closer to love. And that's where the illusion becomes dangerous. Growth never demands that you abandon your self-respect. Genuine spiritual connection creates honesty, accountability, and peace, not confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. The moment you stop calling manipulation a spiritual lesson, you stop being controlled by it. Sometimes the greatest awakening isn't finding someone else. It's finally choosing yourself. The hardest goodbye isn't to a person, it's to the fantasy you built around them. That realization changes everything. For so long, you may believe that every heartbreak is another step toward reunion. Every sleepless night feels meaningful. Every unanswered message becomes a sign to wait just a little longer. The pain starts wearing the mask of purpose, and suddenly, suffering feels like proof that the connection is real. But love was never designed to keep you emotionally starving. A true spiritual connection doesn't leave you questioning your worth every single day. It doesn't demand that you sacrifice your peace just to hold on to hope. The moment a relationship consistently wounds your spirit more than it heals your heart, the lesson is no longer about staying, it's about letting go. Sometimes, the most powerful act of faith isn't chasing destiny. It's trusting that real love will never require you to abandon yourself to find it. Because peace isn't giving up on love. It's refusing to lose yourself for a fantasy that keeps asking you to bleed. If this message touched something deep inside you, don't ignore that feeling. The greatest twin flame journey isn't about chasing someone else's awakening. It's about honoring your own. If this video gave you clarity, leave a in the comments and share the lesson that changed you most. Subscribe for more soul awakening insights, and remember, the love you're searching for begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. Until next time, protect your peace, trust your journey, and stay blessed.